Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Glad you're all watching. I'm trying to multitask here a little bit today, so I'm trying to do a video here at the same time because I got so much to do. But here's a video here about something that just happened, and then we'll discuss that on the other side. So let's go to the video here.
The Supreme Court just did the unthinkable in another 6-3 decision. So the case is Calais v. Louisiana, and it will go down as one of the worst decisions of the Roberts Court by far, alongside other decisions like Citizens United, because it's really that bad. It's essentially the death blow to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So Section 2 was under scrutiny in this case, which is the section of the VRA that prohibited racial gerrymandering that would otherwise dilute the voting power of black and brown voters. And Louisiana Republicans decided to explicitly defy Section 2, probably so they can challenge it, and deny black voters equal representation, even though black people make up a third of the state's population. And Brett Wilkins of Common Dreams explains, civil and voting rights advocates challenged Louisiana's Republican-drawn and racially rigged congressional map. In 2022, a federal judge agreed that the map likely violated Section 2, and the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld that ruling, ordering Louisiana to draw a new map by 2024 of January. Louisiana complied, but a group of non-black voters challenged the new map, claiming it was a racially rigged creation that violated the 14th Amendment. The Trump administration supported the challengers, arguing that black voters had no right to a second majority-minority district. In other words, white people in Louisiana argued that it was discrimination against them to give black people equal representation. It was discrimination against white people to give black people, which make up a third of the population, just one more majority-minority district. So they basically weaponized Section 2 against itself to destroy it, and it worked, somehow. And I say somehow because the Supreme Court bought that argument. They just voted to destroy Section 2, even though a couple of years ago they voted to uphold Section 2 in the case of Allen v. Milligan. And even though Roberts and Kavanaugh sided with the liberals in that case from 2022, Kavanaugh agreed with a concurring opinion written by Clarence Thomas that argued basically that Section 2 would need to go away at some point since racism no longer exists. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the essence of the argument that Kavanaugh agreed with. But little did we know, at some point meant just a couple of years later, because Kavanaugh and Roberts flipped, which means that we're going to go back to the Jim Crow status quo in 2026 as a result of them flipping. And in a summary for Democracy Docket, Jim Saxa explains, the ruling effectively invalidates Section 2 of the VRA as it has been understood for 4 decades without explicitly striking down the statute. It now will require proof of intentional discrimination, something Congress did not write into the law, and that's extremely difficult for plaintiffs to show. States may now draw district lines in ways that undercut the political power of minority voters with virtually no limit. While arriving too late in the election cycle to significantly affect November's midterms, the decision gives Republicans an advantage in the fight for control of Congress. By allowing for the dismantling of minority districts currently held by Democrats, the ruling could provide the GOP enough additional seats to lock in the party's control of the House for a generation. Yeah, so to be frank, this is really really, really, really bad. And even though Section 2 is technically still in place, it's just not going to actually be able to prevent racial gerrymandering like it was intended to, unless there's concrete evidence of overt racism. So basically, lawmakers have to get caught explicitly saying that they're redrawing district maps to keep black people out of power because they're racist. And if you don't have that evidence, if there's no smoking gun there, then they can do what they want and get away with it. So we're supposed to believe that Republicans are gerrymandering black voters into oblivion for non-racist reasons. We're supposed to view it as a mere coincidence that all of the black voters in historically racist southern states are suddenly losing their voting power to white voters because coincidence, I guess, since racism is over, according to this dumbass, illegitimate Supreme Court. It is truly outrageous. Now, I will note that it's probably too late, and the article pointed this out as well, for this to take effect this cycle. Although, with that being said, Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn is already calling for her state's legislature to hold a special session so that way they can disenfranchise black voters before November's election. So there's that. But, it seems unlikely that most southern states will be able to get this done in time for November's election. So Democrats are still probably going to take back the House at the end of the year, but that might actually be the last time they hold control of the House for a very, very long time. And by the 2028 election, I think it's safe to assume that Republicans will have a very big advantage because of what the Supreme Court did, even if by then people are completely fed up with Donald Trump. Now, a report conducted last year by Fair Fight Action and Black Voters Matter projected a loss of 25 to 30% of congressional Black caucus members and as much as 11% of congressional Hispanic caucus members. And this map posted by Newswire shows the difference that the law could make. Democrats currently hold 24 seats across the South, but if Republicans redraw districts to dilute Black voting power, they could gain an additional 12 seats by erasing representation across the South for Black and brown people. So we're quickly moving to one-party rule in this country when it was already the case that our shitty system privileged conservatives. Because think about this, the Electoral College already advantages Republicans in cycle after cycle. They're able to take power even though they got less votes than their opponents. That's not democratic. And the Senate as an institution is inherently undemocratic because it gives states like Wyoming, with a population of 600,000 people, the same amount of senators as states like California, which has a population of 40 million people. That is inherently unfair and undemocratic. But the House is supposed to balance it all out, in theory, until now. Because conservatives are going to have an advantage with regard to the House, too, since they can be as racist as they want to be. So, contrary to popular belief, the founders were not geniuses. They were dumbasses who designed our entire system of governance around the demands of inbred cousin fucking slave owners. And 250 years later, we can still see how that constitutional design is holding us back by advantaging generations of inbred cousin fucking conservatives who no longer own slaves but hate Black people just as much as their slave-owning ancestors did. And even though we've tried to erase the advantages of racist white people and level the playing field, the system always reverts back to homeostasis. And I want to be clear, the Supreme Court has been working towards this for a very, very long time. This isn't necessarily a new phenomenon. They have been trying to dismantle our democracy piece by piece. Jim Soxa of Democracy Docket explains, the erosion began in 2013 when Shelby County v. Holder struck down the VRA's pre-clearance provisions, which had required certain jurisdictions with discriminatory pasts to get the federal government's okay before amending election laws. The 5-4 opinion penned by Roberts cleared the way for southern states to implement a host of electoral changes, making it harder to cast a ballot, like voter ID laws, as well as more local changes that often flew below the media radar. After falling for decades after the VRA's enactment, the racial turnout gap started increasing again since Shelby, especially in counties once covered by pre-clearance. The dam sprung another leak in 2019 after SCOTUS' decision in Rucho. While the court maintained that partisan gerrymandering was illegal, the majority concluded it was a non-justiciable question that courts were ill-equipped to resolve by essentially declaring partisan gerrymandering to be be beyond the reach of the judiciary, Rucho enabled today's spate of mid-decade redistricting efforts. And fast forward to today, and Republicans can dilute the voting power of minority voters again so long as they pinky promise that they're not doing it for racist reasons. That's what it's come to. Now, people will argue that it's technically not being done for racist reasons since they're only disenfranchising black voters because they vote Democrat, and they arguably wouldn't disenfranchise black voters if they voted Republican. But I'd counter that diluting the power of a minority group for any reason, even if it's motivated purely by partisanship, is still inherently fucking racist. But the Supreme Court disagrees with me, and since they have power and I don't, logic goes out the window, and racism reigns supreme yet again in the United States of America. So surprising. So this really is death to democracy by 1,000 cuts, and you could already argue that the U.S. never lived up to that democracy label, but the important thing was that we were moving closer and closer towards true democracy or polyarchy. But these days, it's really hard to think of elections in the United States as anything other than window dressing, which is the case in every other authoritarian regime throughout the world that holds elections, but those elections don't really facilitate any meaningful transfers of power. Because think about this. It's already the case now that a handful of billionaires control all of our media and social media. They're also spending more money than ever on elections thanks to Citizens United. So our voting power has been diluted and our voices are being drowned out by billionaires. And now we've fallen so fucking far that Jim Crow is making a comeback. It's just so depressing. I wish I had words to encourage you, but it's really, really bleak, guys. And we're forced to live in this dystopia because our stupidly designed system that was designed by dipshits was designed to perpetually hand power to a racist minority party that wants to rob us of every penny we have until we die. Also, the richest people in the country can get even richer. It's so sad, and I don't know how you change this. How do you fix this with anything short of a constitutional amendment? But how do you get constitutional reform when our so-called democracy is designed to prevent the will of the majority from being implemented? It seems like the system is an unfixable system. But I think in the short term, Democrats at the state level need to completely forego their independent redistricting endeavors and aggressively gerrymander Republicans out of power until every last Republican voter in their state is completely and utterly disenfranchised. That is not the ideal solution. I don't like living in this situation. I don't want this. I've always been against partisan gerrymandering, but this is the world that we have to adapt to. We have no choice. Democrats tried to even the playing field, and they've offered legislation to end partisan gerrymandering at the national level, and not a single Republican supported that. So, in the face of partisan and racial gerrymandering, Democrats are left with no choice but to meet rat fucking with more rat fucking. It is a race to the bottom, to be sure, but as I said in my video from earlier today, it's a fight for survival at this point. We have to do what we need to do to survive. Democracy, for all intents and purposes, is already dead, and we have to steamroll Republicans before they steamroll us. It's going to be hard because, again, they have an institutional advantage baked into the system for them, but in the states where Democrats do have power, they have no choice but to be as ruthless as Republicans are.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty grim news, I guess. Once again, the Supreme Court showing its ineptitude to do the job that they're asked to do, which is, to illustrate the Constitution, abide by what's written here. But this Supreme Court is probably going to go down in history as probably the most corrupted that we've ever seen in American history. Okay, and the part of the reason of that is that these justices are there on the bench working as politicians and not justices. Okay, that's why this vote came out in a 6-3 fashion, is because it's split on party lines, which they should not be allowed to do in the Supreme Court. That court is not supposed to be hampered by politics, political parties. Okay, their only loyalty has to be to the interpretation of the Constitution, and that's it. But we're not getting that, are we? I mean, people who know who really know less than they do about the Constitution already can see the problem, what's happening here. And for an issue like this that should have been easily decided on, right? You know, for the common clod out there that knows a little bit about the Constitution, should know that if you're going to allow redistricting to happen based on what other people want to redistrict, you're opening the door to a huge friggin' pile of shit that you're never going to be able to keep the stench away from. I mean, it's crazy that these people thought that, but at the same time, I have to keep in mind that these 6 people who voted for it were Republicans, okay, conservative thinkers. These are the people, you know, that Trump appointed in there, you know, or at least some of them anyway. But the thing of it is that they're not doing their job. They haven't done it, and I don't know what the hell can be done to fix this. I mean, Barack Obama already gave a reaction to this ruling here. I think either yesterday or today. He's really disappointed because it sets our country, you know, way back many years, which seems to be the only thing Republicans are concerned about is keeping our country back, holding it back, pushing it back. They want to go all the way back to the Jim Crow era in some regards, and you know, they want to take away voting rights from minorities and women too. I mean, hey, their heads are all going to be on the chopping block eventually. But they want to take us all the way back to that point. And then what's going to happen next? Are we going to start debating whether or not slavery is bad? Okay. You know, if I was a black American, I think this is a call to arms in a way, because, you know, this is just yet another attempt by the right to subdue, you know, the minority people in this country. Not just blacks, but anybody that they can't stand. So when are we gonna fucking say, look, okay, you guys, you crossed the line, this is it, okay? I mean, didn't we fight a civil war, one of the reasons being to end slavery in this country? Because we knew enough back then that was wrong, right? Our ancestors knew better that slavery was wrong, and we wanted to stop that. We wanted to give people the same rights the rest of us have, okay, because they're living in this country too. And we wanted to stop that. That the slavery shit is really just, you know, some, you know, whatever you want to call them, you know, some groups, people's dream of not having to do any physical labor so they can find somebody they can throw away to do it for them, okay? Sorry about the shake in here, the roads in Maine are bumpy. But yeah, I mean, it's very disappointing, and it makes me think back to, you know, history class and stuff like that in school, and all the things that they's trying to give us this impression that America is so noble and all that. Well, maybe in some ways it was, but it's certainly not that way now, especially with the leadership we got here. America really isn't that noble, and that civil war that we fought to free slaves and you know, and other issues, we really didn't finish it, did we? Because we left too many of the rotten seeds in the garden to sprout back up again. We didn't eliminate it. That war, we should have fought that in a different way. We didn't fight it the right way. What we should have done was wage a war on conservative thought, okay, in this country. Because it seems like people who are those who would support what the Supreme Court did are Republicans, right? Conservatives. They consider themselves to be conservative. So that right there tells me that conservative thought is wrong. Okay, it's bad for America. It has no depth to its depravity. Okay, they're very contradictory, hypocritical, you know, and we should eliminate that from our government. You know, people that, you know, we'll just take here, for example, all the Trump supporters. And I know I've said it before. Everybody who voted for Trump should be rounded up and deported out of this country, period. Okay? Because they're killing a nation. They're killing our country. They're taking food out of the mouths of the poor to keep on their tables, to take away our money, our health care. How is that supposed to be an American thing? How is doing shit like that considered American? Because I don't see that. I don't see that as a positive. I mean, you'd have to be pretty twisted in your thinking to think that that's the American dream, to take food out of the mouths of the poor, okay, so you can have a little extra money for yourself. But we've allowed that kind of political, I don't even know if you can call it political, but well, I'm just going to use that word for now. We've allowed that sort of political thought to fester in this country far too long. Okay, the rest of us know it's wrong. We know that these people are lopsided in their thinking. Okay, we've seen it already, and we have to say, no, you don't qualify to speak for the American people. You don't qualify to decide for America what needs to be done, because you're approaching every problem at the wrong angle. You're always at the wrong side of history on everything. So you don't qualify to be involved in politics. You need to stay the hell out of it, because you're damaging the country. Now I realize people go say, oh, what about, you know, people having the right for that? Well, you can have rights. I got a right to drive this truck, but if I drive it at 1,000 miles an hour through every fucking little speed limit, what happens to that right? It gets taken away because you're being cavalier, you're being careless, you're putting other people's lives in danger. So a right is only a right until you abuse it. Okay? So I don't care about, you know, conservatives losing their right to vote, okay, in elections and stuff like that, because they're cavalier, they're reckless, and they put other people's lives in danger with the things that they support. That right there is enough reason for me to stand by what I said about we need to have a radical elimination of conservative thought in this country, because it's killing us. You know, and until we do, nothing's ever going to get any better here. Okay? It really isn't. So, you know, I don't know how better to illustrate that or to say that, but it's the truth. It's my truth. Okay? And I'm sure some of you might agree and some may not, but that's the way I see it at this point. So, as you probably heard, Jimmy Kimmel's under fire again from the Trump administration there. And Trump is trying to get ABC's licenses revoked or some damn thing. I don't know. He's running to the FCC like a little whiny baby to try to muscle them, ABC and Disney, I guess, too. I guess because Disney is affiliated with ABC or owns them. But he's trying to get them to do something to Kimmel, okay? It's like, you know, Trump, you ever heard of freedom of expression, freedom of speech? I mean, come on. I mean, sure, he's got the Supreme Court that would probably, if it ever got that high to fight, they'd side with him. But we all know that that's bullshit, okay? That this is just a convoluted effort on Trump's part to shut people up because he can't stand people making fun of him based on truths that he has laid out before him, okay? And Trump acting this way, I mean, it ought to embarrass everybody that we have a president that can dish it out but can't take it. You know, my father was the same way. You know, he could always, you know, insult the hell out of other people, but when the tables were turned, oh, no. You don't touch that. You know, so, yeah, I mean, Trump, he's just a big fucking baby, you know, an 80-year-old baby. And he's the worst kind of person you ever want leading anything, from even the student council from you know, high school. I mean, he's just a miserable prick, you know. And, you know, I hope that, you know, they stand behind Kimmel here on this, because I hate to see, you know, ABC fold or something under pressure, and which has been the common pattern here. When Trump rattles a sword, everybody kneels, okay? And I to this day, I still don't understand why. Unless we're not being told everything about these stories that happen where Trump, you know, throws his fat around and everybody bows. There's got to be more to the story, because it doesn't make any sense to me. You know, being a president doesn't give you the ability to just blackmail everybody you want, okay? You may try, but there's always going to be somebody that's going to buck that, and then the truth gets out. But I don't understand why everybody's so eager to fucking please him. I mean, right now, you know, they're trying to ignore him, but for how long? You know, for how long before somebody says, yeah, okay, Kimmel's got to go, or, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's just, it's crazy. And I think in a situation like this, all these comedian talk show people, or, you know, and stuff ought to stand together, and they have been, but they really need to come together a lot with a presidency like this, because they're not safe, okay? Their jobs are not safe. Just like none of our jobs are safe as long as he's president, because at any moment your job could end up being closed because of some damn policy that Trump enacted. You know, it's just the way it is now. We should all feel like we're on pins and needles here, because we are. There's already a lot of MAGA people who've already been the victim of Trump's ridiculous shit, okay? So, you know, it's even more dangerous for people who don't like Trump and oppose him, okay, and say things about him. He can't stand that, so they become targets. I mean, he'll go after every fucking ant on the world that doesn't like Trump, okay? And so I feel like, you know, this is a critical point here. You know, there's a lot of stress on Trump right now. He's worried about goddamn the midterms. You got people on the right who are trying to redistrict as much as they can, because they're trying to soften the blow coming this November on how much they're going to lose, because the less they lose, the easier it will be for them to take back, okay? If they lose big, then it could be a long time before they can recover from that. But for them, they're trying to lessen the goddamn blow. So they want to redistrict in different places where they can have an advantage, which, again, I feel is wrong. It goes against the very idea of democracy, okay? You know, the suggestion that the video, that the blue states ought to heavily redistrict to take away all fucking votes from the right wing. I say, why? Oh, if the Supreme Court's going to allow it for one side, then they can't argue against it for the other. You see what I'm saying? When they do stuff like this, they put themselves in a box. Okay? They certainly can't argue the case now if Democrats want to do this shit, that, oh, you can't do that. Well, you just said you could. For if you're a Republican, you want to have a red state completely red, you said that's okay. And that since racism doesn't exist anymore by your definition, okay, then it's all coincidental that if we want to have just blue voters in one state, you know, and red in the other, then that's the way it's going to be. It's going to shake down just like that. So, like I said, you know, the Supreme Court creates more problems, at least this court does, than it does solve anything, because, like I said, they've opened the door for the left wing to do exactly the same thing, to find out where all the Republican voters are and block them out, okay? And I think, you know, Democrats shouldn't feel guilty about doing it, because now we're living in a country where, as it was said in the video, we're fighting for our very survival as a nation, because if we continue down this road, we won't have an America anymore. It'll be something other, something we can't stand, something we won't want to live in. okay? And, you know, MAGA might think that that would be their wet dream, but when they start living in it, they're not going to like it. They're not going to like it at all. Because a lot of these people in MAGA are the very people that are victimized by the right wing every single day. Okay, so they're going to put their own heads on the chopping block, thinking that they're doing the greatest thing, and then all of a sudden they're going to get some fucking wake-up call where, oh, you know, they're taking away your job, your whatever, or your Medicare, or whatever. They're going to take all that away from you. Or you're going to have to work for pennies now. You're going to be a slave to corporations. You can't own a house anymore, okay? That property is going to be reserved for people with wealth. You see, there's no limit to how far conservative thinking will go when you're on that track. And these people don't even understand that because they can't see that far ahead. They'd be terrible chess players, these fucking people. You know? So, like I said, you know, this is what's going on here. So let's go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
I think between the couple, girl. But I am a few person of your love. So I will leave you when you said you had love.
He also wrote this: I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people. Horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace. But go ahead, listen.
You know what? For the life of me, I don't understand why people keep trying to take that guy out. That's the person I'm supposed to feel sorry for. The only thing this 60 Minutes interview managed to accomplish is have me stand 10 toes down on the response I gave my husband when he messaged me to tell me about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Yep, that pretty much sums it up. Woke me up for nothing. Why is she a disgrace, Donald? For doing her job, reporting, talking about what the guy wrote in his manifesto verbatim? But this is what you do. This is what you do when you are faced with the truth. Not only do you flat out lie, I am not any of those things, but then you go on to attack her, calling her a horrible person and a disgrace. You sound a little defensive there, buddy. I'm not gonna lie. And the fact that so many people think this is staged, I can see how you've come to that conclusion. His low approval ratings, the fact that he's running this country into the ground. We're still at war with Iran and no end in sight, and prices just keep skyrocketing. It looks like a desperate attempt by Donald Trump to distract us. But I think you guys are severely underestimating how hated this man truly is. Now, I don't have evidence either way, but there is one thing I can tell you for certain. That Republican conservative commentators have done a lot of self-reflecting since this happened. And they've all come to the same, dare I say, coordinated conclusion. If you're thinking that conclusion is that this administration has enacted so much violence and harm on millions of people that it's no surprise there are people out there who want to retaliate, and that maybe this administration should turn down the rhetoric and change its course, well, you would be wrong. They think all this proves is that we need that damn ballroom. And honestly, can we just give him the ballroom? Clearly, all this man wants to do is be able to do the double jerk off to YMCA in peace. In peace. And maybe if we give it to him, we'd get some peace too. Because the lengths this man is willing to go to get this damn ballroom, he's gonna kill us all. Anyways, bye.
You got a hand scar, trying to hide it with the clothes you wear. Makeup doesn't really conceal. Makeup wrong color, people start to stare. Wear a long sleeve sweater, wear a single glove like the king of pop. Maybe they won't even notice, but maybe those sequins were over the top. Don't let them know that you are dying, and it won't be long. Just like your father, cause his genes were strong. Dementia ticking like a powder cake, heading the ship and just like an egg. And I have a feeling that it won't be long. I hope your suffering will be prolonged, be prolonged, be prolonged. You got a hand scar. Every couple months go the Walter Reed. Go and get an infusion. Stick your hand in it, makes you bleed. Look at those fat ankles. Ask the doctors what condition they see. It's not getting any better. It's chronic venous insufficiency. Don't let them know that you are dying, and it won't be long. Just like your father, cause his genes were strong. Dementia ticking like a powder cake, heading the ship and just like an egg. And I have a feeling that it won't be long. I hope your suffering will be prolonged, be prolonged, be prolonged. You got a hand scar. Is it bad enough for you to go away? Somebody make a decision, please, for the good of the USA.
DoorDash girl, the sneaky spy who brings the fries.
She delivers, she discovers, snap and share it all.
Press the crash out button and... I'm the victim! DoorDash girl, the villain next door.
Feel like I'm getting deja vu. This is like a rock war number 2. A rock war number 2. I like the look of those oil supplies. I'd be ashamed if someone invaded you. If someone invaded you. And I ran so far away. From my I'll bomb them night and day, but destroy USA. A drone appears above your head. A mower bomb comes falling down on you, falling down on you. The fleet is moving nearer still. The Strait of Hormuz, it comes in view. The oil must flow through. And I ran so far away. The bomb I bombed them night and day, but destroy USA. Tiny hand hits a big red button. Atomic bombs come falling down on you. Mushroom clouds in view. Send out a tweet to let you know. World War III, 'cause Israel told me to. All for Netanyahu. And I read so far away. Oh, bomb I read. Oh, bomb them night and day. Oh, and I read so far away. Oh, bomb I read. Oh, bomb them night and day. But destroy USA.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Don't worry, I'm not driving at this point. I'm in the parking lot, but I have this article I want to read to you from The Guardian. And it's entitled, Louisiana Postpones Primaries as States Rush to Redraw Districts After the Supreme Court Ruling. Well, they ain't wasting no time, are they, huh? And more governors are calling for special sessions following the Supreme Court's decision severely weakening the Voting Rights Act. Louisiana moved to postpone its May primaries on Thursday in a move that came as other southern states are also scrambling to redraw congressional districts in response to the Supreme Court's Wednesday ruling that weakened the landmark Voting Rights Act. Before the Supreme Court's decision eliminating a key protection against racial discrimination in drawing voting maps, some states had already begun initiating processes to redraw districts and gut black voting power. More states have now followed, with governors calling for special sessions to redraw congressional districts potentially before the midterm elections in November. Louisiana's Governor Jeff Landry and Attorney General Liz Murrill, both Republicans, said in a joint statement that the state could no longer use its current districts to carry out the primaries after the Supreme Court ruling. Early voting had been scheduled to begin on Saturday in advance of the May 16th primary. Quote, the state is currently enjoined from carrying out congressional elections under the current map, unquote, Landry and Murrill said in the statement on social media on Thursday. Quote, we are working together with the legislature and the Secretary of State's office to develop a path forward, unquote. Voting districts are typically redrawn once a decade after the census. Last year, Trump triggered a round of mid-decade redistricting after he urged Texas Republicans to give a boost to the Republican Party during the midterm elections. California Democrats responded in turn. From there, multiple other states began pushing redistricting, along with those whose maps were already tied up in state and federal courts. Now, state legislatures have a new opportunity, and several southern states have already acted or indicated they will do so soon. While it's unclear how many states will be able to redraw their maps before the November midterm elections, given that filing deadlines and in some cases primaries have passed in many states, Republicans are expected to take extreme measures to move quickly. Before the ink on the justices' decision had dried, Florida's Republican-controlled legislature called back into a special session by Governor Ron DeSantis in recent weeks, passed new congressional maps to deliver 4 more seats to the Republican Party. The map, which was already in process before the Supreme Court decision, gives Republicans the advantage for 24 of the state's 28 House seats. Quote, DeSantis' extreme new gerrymander was drawn behind closed doors because he knows the voters overwhelmingly oppose this partisan power grab, unquote, John Bisogano, president of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, said in a statement. Quote, instead of standing up for their constituents, Florida Republicans have just voted to silence millions of Floridians in service of Donald Trump's plot to steal the 2026 midterm elections, unquote. While Florida advanced the issue of redistricting further than any other state since the Supreme Court's ruling, other Republican-controlled states seem poised to follow. Tate Reeves, the Mississippi governor, announced that 21 days after the Supreme Court decision, the state legislature would return for a special session to address redistricting, which had been put on hold pending the decision. Charles Taylor, executive director of the Mississippi chapter of the NAACP, said that the organization was already working to address both the decision and the special session. Quote, too often in this country, black voters bear the brunt of the political theater, and I want to be clear, the Republican Party and power is completely linked to the delusions of black voting power, unquote, he said. Quote, Mississippi is the blackest state in the country, and we have a governor and a legislature that is chomping at the bits, not to create equality, but to continue to suppress the black voices and black folks in our state. It is a sad day, but we stand ready to fight, unquote. Reeves celebrated the Supreme Court's decision in a post on X. Quote, first Dobbs, now Calais, unquote, he wrote. Quote, just Mississippi and Louisiana down here saving our country, unquote. Like Louisiana, Alabama was sued after the 2020 redistricting cycle for violating Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The Alabama Attorney General, Steve Marshall, said the state, quote, will act as quickly as possible to apply this ruling to Alabama's redistricting efforts, unquote. The state has 2 majority black districts, including one that voted for the first time only 2 years ago. In Tennessee, shortly after the Supreme Court decision, the Republican senator and gubernatorial candidate Marsha Blackburn wrote a post on X targeting the state's lone majority black district. Quote, I urge our state legislature to reconvene to redistrict another Republican seat in Memphis, unquote, she wrote alongside a photo of Tennessee redrawn to be entirely red. Quote, it's essential to cement at real Donald Trump's agenda and the golden age of America, unquote. Well, yeah, as soon as the fucking echo didn't even die from the decision, they're already doing, somehow I feel like they were already ready for this. They probably knew that the Supreme Court was going to rule in their favor, and they had already set in motion everything. All they were just waiting for was the green light. And, because, like they said, a lot of these states, it's past the time for them to do this sort of shit, okay? But I can guarantee you in the red states, those rules will not be adhered to. Okay, they're going to rush these redistricting things. They probably already have the maps drawn. They had them probably sitting on their desk for months, okay, and it's already set, okay? So, you see what I mean, people, about cheating an election before the fact, okay? That's what this is. What this is right here. Republicans cheating. They know they can't win on their policies. They can't. They never have, okay? The only way they can win is through crap like this. Petty games, okay? Fucking with the rules. Getting people to side with them. Putting people in positions of power that will fucking support it. That's all they can do. Because most of their ideas fall on deaf ears. The majority of the country doesn't like Republican ideas because they know what they intend to do with that. Okay, we don't trust them, for one thing. They lost our trust, so that's the biggest hurdle for them to overcome, is gaining trust, because they fucked us over so much in the past that Republicans and trust do not equate. Okay, just like Trump and honesty does not equate. Okay, and I don't know how many times people have to learn this lesson to stop supporting them, because idealistically, the only way this gerrymandering can be overcome is if every American votes Democrat and they don't get a single Republican vote, because how can they explain getting any seat at all if nobody votes for them? Okay, so then that would be so obvious that they're cheating. But what I'm saying is we need to come out in big numbers. For the Democrats out there that didn't want to vote last time, get off your fucking ass and vote this midterm, okay? Vote now. Get people in power now, okay? You failed us before, don't do it again. Okay, don't be an idiot. Don't do it again. We got to have Democrats in control here to try and repair what's been done to this country in just a year and a half. Okay, it's going to be a lot, and it's going to take probably quite a few Democrat administrations and controlled houses to be able to do this. We have to show the world that we can be trusted. Right now, we're no longer trusted. Everybody's talking about, well, should the United States stay in NATO? I mean, we're not the ones saying that. The people in NATO are saying that. A lot of people in NATO right now are arguing that, the United States really should not be part of NATO because they're committing crimes, and we don't want our name attached to it. They're committing international crimes. And so we're not trusted. We're not even trusted to pay our debts. We've, what the hell they call it, that rating you get for the country. We were at 4 and now we're at 3 or something like that. The rest of the world doesn't think we could pay our debts. And I don't blame them, because I don't think we can either. Not the way we're running our economy now. And not the way, people just can't seem to fucking get any work to pay into the system. I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to tap the millionaires to help pay the debt? No. So where are they going to get this mysterious money from to pay down our fucking our debts that we owe? I don't know. I just don't know. It just seems ridiculous to me that with things the way they are, there's still people out there who would be willing to vote Republican. Okay, even though majority of Americans won't, they want to tailor the districts to only encompass those people who are pro-Republican, pro-Trump. So I don't know. It's sad. And, you know, one can't help feeling that yesterday we lost a big footing climbing the mountain here, and we've slipped down the hill some, okay? I mean, I feel like the only way to actually try to repair everything is, you know, we're going to have to start by cleaning house. Like I said in the previous segment, we're going to have a radical elimination of conservative thought in this country in order to get back, you know, to some semblance of a healthy economy and a healthy country. We can't do that as long as we got these fucking jackals nipping at our fucking heels all the time, because they're killing us. And if we don't do anything to stop that thought, or to do something to smarten these fucking people up, I don't know what the hell else we can do. You know? I mean, I think we've tried everything we can think of as far as how do I call it? You know, Democrats trying to sell their agenda. We've tried everything we can to enlighten people on the right as to what we're trying to do. But the right has been taught too fucking well that you can't trust Democrats. They can't do anything right. They're a clusterfuck, okay? And so vote Republican, we stay united and everything. Well, Jesus Christ, I mean, it's like, you know, vote for the rebellion or vote for the empire. I mean, it's like, you know, being united isn't the be-all and end-all of a country. You got to have a free flow of thought in this country, okay, to create ideas, and they have to be progressive ideas in order to move the country forward. Because if you're not evolving, you're stagnant, and the rest of the world moves on. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? Every fucking empire that has risen and fell have risen and fell for the same fucking reasons. They start off with this intention to move forward, to progress, okay, and then they fall on their fucking conservative thinking and their greed, and then their empire falls. We're following the same pattern, only it's taking us a lot quicker to do it, okay? It's taken a quicker time for us to do it. Only 250 years, folks. How long was the Roman Empire around? Okay, so 250 years. But I guess you could say that in 250 years, we've had more means to be able to destroy ourselves, politically speaking, than could be done back in those days in the Roman Empire, because they didn't have TV, they didn't have internet, they didn't have this propaganda machine as integrated into their society as we got. So I would say that, you know, if they had all those things, the Roman Empire probably would have fell a lot sooner. But the way it is now, we are where we are, and our country is on a down slope here to fall. And I don't know how many people are going to be at the bottom to catch it, but I don't think the rest of the world is going to give two shits about what happens in this country because of the shit we've done already. I mean, we've really pissed off the world that much. And without some respect from the rest of the world, we can't accomplish a fucking thing internationally. Okay? So, you know, that's something there to chew on, I think, for everybody listening. Okay, now on Maine's Senate race here, the governor, Janet Mills, dropped out of the race. I don't know, she didn't really give much of an answer. She's been kind of absent for quite a while, so people were suspecting that she was probably going to quit, and so she did. So Graham Plattner, who is the Democrat running for Collins' seat, it's become official. I mean, he's a former Marine and oysterman. He will be facing the perpetually concerned Senator Collins in a general election battle for a must-win Senate seat in Maine. Mills has finally dropped out after trailing in the polls for weeks. This race could mean the difference between Trump retaining control of the Senate or Democrats putting an end to his tyranny. And like I said in the last video, I mean, the advertisements from the Pine Tree Super PAC, I guess that's their name, Pine Tree, which is in Collins's corner. They've been running some pretty nasty ads here about Graham Plattner, accusing him of saying on guess Reddit is the source. Everything that they were saying in the commercial was all stuff that they found on Reddit. And, I read Reddit stuff all the time, and sometimes the shit people say on there, it just seems ridiculous. And I don't know. They were saying that he had said something that, Maine women get raped because they get drunk all the fucking time or something like that. Words to that effect. Okay. And what was the other thing? That he had a swastika tattooed on his neck, which he covered. He could have had that done on him when he was a teenager. I mean, teens do a lot of stupid things, it probably don't mean anything, but I can't remember now. But yeah, they got a bunch of that shit on there. And I'm thinking, well, something, Susan Collins's history, they shine a really overbright thing on that. They really polish it up a lot. They bring some way past things that she accomplished. Okay. And yet everything seems to be overshadowed by the fact that she supports Trump. Okay. Being concerned about something Trump does not actually mean she opposes it. Okay? You see what I'm saying? It's a very choice word she uses, to be concerned. Okay? But at the end of the day, she'll side with it. She might be concerned, but it doesn't mean she opposes it. It just means concerned. So when she's sitting here, when she's running her ad saying that she advocates for cancer research and stuff like that, that's fine and dandy. But when you support a guy that's president who has been cutting funding for research into cancer and stuff like that, and you support it, doesn't that kind of, contradict your stance all along about that? I mean, think about it. They get a couple of people, one or two people who speak for her, saying how good she is and all that. Of course, they're paid to say these things. So you have to always question whether or not it's legitimate, whether those opinions are true, whether these people are really speaking from the heart, or they're just, scripted to say these things. And the reason why this campaign is getting dirty now is the fact that she's behind Plattner quite a bit. Okay, so here's my take on this thing. If people in this state are really unhappy with Susan Collins, okay, then what's the problem taking the risk of changing the diaper and putting a new one on? We could always get rid of Plattner if he doesn't do what he says he's going to do, right? We still can vote him out. So why cut that option off just to say, I don't know, the things they're saying about Plattner sounds pretty mean. I think I'm going to stick with Collins. Okay, stick with Collins. And then guess what happens? You're going to be spending the rest of the time she's back in office bitching about what she's not doing, about her siding with Trump, about all these other things. Like, do you really want to go back to the belly aching? Does that make any sense to you? It's like a vehicle you have and is falling apart all the time, okay? And then you go around looking for another car, and you see a car, but you're like, I don't know, this thing might not work. I'm going to stick with what I got. Does that make any sense? Of course not. So the same thing here. Susan Collins is a broken vehicle, okay? She's been in the Senate too fucking long, in my opinion. It's time for her to go, okay? Because now she's not doing a whole lot good for the state. And she hasn't been standing behind our governor here. And so she's really very politicized. She's only good at one thing now, and that's helping other Republicans retain their seats by getting them big fucking money. Okay? She's the money queen. That's why they're fighting so hard now to keep her in there, because they want her in there. All right? She's the key to unlock the treasury there. So Plattner's going to be in an uphill battle because the dirt is going to continue to fly. He's going to have to come back swinging big time if he's going to unseat this woman, because he ain't just fighting her. He's fighting her super PACs as well. And there's a lot of fucking money being spent right now for Collins to keep that seat in Maine. You can bet your ass on that. So, Plattner may sound, like, people's idea of what they want for a senator, but at the end of the day, we come back to the same problem each and every time. People voting for the name you know. Okay? But here's the thing. Yeah, we know the name, and we ain't happy with the name we know. Okay? So what's the point of keeping with that and not taking our chances with another person? Okay? Like I said, we can always vote that person out later if we don't like them. Okay? There's, it's not a lifetime thing. Even though we vote for our senators to be in there for a lifetime, but we don't have to. And Graham Plattner can prove that, his metal matches his mouth, then we did ourselves a service. We got lucky. Okay? So to me it seems more appropriate to just get rid of what we're not able to stand anymore, which is hurting our country, and put something different in there now. Okay? We owe it to the country. Because being a senator isn't just for one state. I mean, you're actually dealing with issues on a national level, and Maine deserves to give the country a better senator. They deserve to have something better. There's too many nitwits in the Senate right now and in the Congress. We need to start getting some of these fuckers out. Yeah, and this other thing where Trump's up at 4 in the morning promoting a QAnon conspiracy theory. I'll tell you, that's why this fucking guy is never awake when he should be. He spends all fucking night texting on his goddamn truth lie, well, they call it lie social, on his lie social post about stupid cabals of wealthy, I don't know, he says the world is run by a shadowy cabal of wealthy pedophiles, which will be overthrown, ultimately leading to the Great Awakening. It's funny that he writes that because people caught on to that irony really quick, Who wants to tell him? Maybe he was being slightly truthful about the part about the wealthy controlling this pedophile ring or sex trafficking or human trafficking. Maybe he's been right about being right about that, but it's funny he would utter that when he's the one under investigation for being the biggest part of it. Okay? And that's what makes it weird when he's on there talking like that. Maybe he's trying to think that he can convince people he's innocent by saying, I'm going after the pedophiles. They'll say, well, if he's a pedophile, he wouldn't be going after other pedophiles. No, he's saying that because he's trying to repair his image. And he knows how gullible so many people are that they'll think that way and believe it, that he's going to come down on pedophiles, okay, to make himself look like, oh, see, I'm not a pedophile, because if I was, I wouldn't be going after these wealthy people that are in it, Nope, Trump, that's not going to work. We see right through it, okay? Your deranged mind isn't that good, okay? You can't outthink yourself out of this thing. Let's see. What else we got here? Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene says a MAGA congressman was picking on her, making fun of her. Whoopee. And the topic of abortion has come up again in Kentucky. That's an issue that the fucking MAGA people will never let go of. They feel like gets them money. I think when they start, it's like having a religious debate or something. At the end, they have a basket in front of you to put money in. I think every time they bring up the topic of abortion, that's just another way of them putting a basket in front of their supporters to collect money. But they have absolutely no intention of doing anything with abortion because so many Republicans would have to be subjected to the rules that they would make with abortion laws and stuff. And Hegseth is accusing our troops of lying because he's having to answer with the shit that he's done in Iraq. I don't know. Do you think anybody's ever going to get rid of him? I certainly hope so, but who would they put in his place? You know? This is a guy who really has very minimal experience in the military, given the job of only an experienced person in the military should have. Okay? That's the irony about Pete Hegseth, is that he's doing a job meant for a big boy, and he's not very good at doing it. And so when troops are saying shit that, you know, he doesn't want people to say, he calls them lies. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got people in the military seeking out voices that are out there trying to, say things that they don't like about what's going on, and they're probably getting reprimanded right and left over it. I wouldn't be surprised, because the military is not a democracy, and in that situation, people can be lined up, and removed from their job, even discharged, for not kissing the ring, as it were, in this case. Oh, by the way, I graduated my guitar class yesterday, or the day before. Yeah, yesterday. Graduated top of the class, as it turns out, for a class of 1. So I got my graduation guitar, and so I'm going to take this summer and just practice all the things that I learned in the last 12 weeks, and then I'm going to, this winter coming, join up with the next level class. There's a lot more people in it, not just one, but it's going to be at least 15 other people. It's for veterans, so it's all veterans that are taking these classes, okay? It's not open to the general public, and it's free. So only the veterans can do this. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing this winter. But I thought I should tell everybody, because I was taking classes all winter here with that. Iran warns Trump that the blockade is doomed to fail as energy prices soar to a 4-year high. Well, I tell you right now, you think it's high now? Wait till the travel season starts. Then it's really going to be high. How many people, this silence here over this issue is deafening. People are bitching. I hear it in small, like restaurants and stores, people bitching about gas prices and stuff, but where are the fucking protests? I mean, I remember when, who was it? Was it George W. there was president, and the gas prices started to go up, and people were out on the fucking streets, bitching about that. It almost felt as bad as the fucking energy crisis during the 70s here. I was too little really to really remember it, but there was a lot of protesting about that then. So when are people going to get off their ass and protest this? Is it because, for so many, that means that the person responsible for it is sitting in the White House, and they don't want to come out against their beloved little dictator? Okay, they don't want to do it. Is that the reason? It kind of looks like that to me. They're too afraid to open their yap. I don't know, but I wish people would just start calling just bugging this shit. Put them on speed dial and just pepper them with fucking calls. Get their emails and just pepper them with fucking messages. When you ain't got nothing to do, just type out a goddamn message and send it. Beat the fucking airwaves. Swamp these motherfuckers with all kinds of feedback, anger, and stuff like that. Let these fuckers know, okay? that you're not happy. And when we're not happy, things change, and they should. So that's what people ought to be doing. That's what I ask you all to do. If you're not going to get out there and protest or do anything physically, then use your computer, even use your fucking cell phone. Your cell phone is like a laptop, folks. If I don't know how many of you are aware of that, but you can do all kinds of shit with your cell phone. Use your cell phone. Get active on that. You could sit in your recliner. You can have the TV going. You can be eating. And you could just sit there and type out, emails. Just do that. Or just create a message that you can blanket send to everybody. That way you only have to write it once. And you just copy it and paste it to whoever you send it to. And just shoot that right out there. It don't take that long. Just sit down one night and go on your notepad and type out a fucking message. Save it. And then copy and paste that same message to anyone who you want to send it to. Okay? Really. I mean, I don't know how easy it has to be. It used to be harder just to send letters to superstars years ago. But people always did. They send it via the mail. Not email, but the mail. They would send it in the mail and they'd have to wait for weeks. Sometimes months before they get a response. With an autographed picture or something. Well, folks, this is easier, way easier. You ain't gonna have to wait. Just keep doing it. Don't expect a response, but just send it. Just send the fucking thing. Okay, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week and upcoming weekend. So subscribe, comment, share. Keep your ears open for any health issues. And help each other out as times get tougher, especially now with the gas being where it is and stuff. Try to donate things that you don't want anymore, or just little bits of, maybe buy some canned food or something like that to donate to shelters. Even for people who own pets, sometimes, people can, use a little, help there with feeding their pets. But do something. Be proactive. Be a kind person. Try, at least. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.